Solana going crazy. AVAX going crazy on these weekly charts. And I know there's probably a lot of Cardano holders out there. Not all of them, but a lot of Cardano holders are like, man, what's up with ADA? It's been seeing some gains. Look at these. These are weekly candles. These are gains. You can't complain if something's going from 23, 24 cents up to around 40 cents in the matter of weeks. Those are some nice gains. But what's the deal? Why is ADA not performing as well as some of these other altcoins? I want to break it down for you in this video. And it's more than just price, everybody. The data that we're going to talk about, yeah, we'll look at price charts. We'll even zoom in and we'll start looking at targets. But all of this data foundationally is built on fundamentals. And if you have a macro mindset, which I do, and that's the point of this video and much of my videos, if you have the macro mindset, the fundamentals are so important in terms of being a value investor. And that's what I am. And this is all this is, my perspective. So yeah, we're going to break down price. We're going to talk about what's going on with altcoins, what's happening in the markets, why AVAX and Solana move that's happening right now is good for Cardano. Talk about it all, but I just want to say, we're going to dig into what's happening on chain a little bit, really talk about fundamentals. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, everybody, and let's jump into it. Let's start real quick on the weekly on Cardano. I want to point something out. First off, we mentioned we actually have some bullish divergence from a macro perspective. This is a higher high on the RSI for ADA. It's exactly what we saw the last cycle prior to the halving happen. And we know what happened next for ADA. It's a very bullish thing happening for ADA. Now, that doesn't come without retracement, especially pre-halving. I just want to say that. But notice where the RSI is, though. RSI has a lot of room to the upside in terms of even being overbought. And this is on a weekly chart. Let's go look at Solana. Here's Solana making the moves. Check out how overbought it is. That's caution, right? It could keep going, but I'm just saying this is caution on any crypto chart in any year, right? That's weekly. AVAX, very similar, just entering overbought. So these things are a little bit more overextended from a momentum perspective than something like Cardano. And the biggest thing here is Cardano has upside. So two things. Number one, over the years, we've already identified Cardano. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to do its thing. It's just the way it is. And it gets a lot of hate because of that, especially when other things are moving. But when it moves, it moves. And then number two is this. Altcoins in general just take turns. I've been doing videos on YouTube for almost 6 years now, tracking cryptos, tracking these cycles. This is one of the most consistent things. Altcoins take turns. You're going to see your favorite altcoin pumping, and you're going to think you picked the right horse, and you're just going to feel so good about it while everything else is doing nothing. And then there's going to be those times where your coin is doing nothing while other coins are just going crazy. And I'm not talking about like in a certain hour or day. I'm talking about for weeks at a time even. So this is what cryptos do. That's why foundationally the fundamentals are important. Why are you invested? What's the thesis? And for me, that's what I want to talk about a little bit. And then we're going to dive into the ADA charts on the shorter term to talk about maybe if ADA can actually get a breakout on the shorter term. But check this out. We just looked at AVAX pumping, right? This is AVAX total value locked, and you can just see it. Let me scroll over here so we can see the screen. There's AVAX total value lock, and you can just see from this swing high, this is back in last spring, 2022, it's been falling. Total value locked falling. Fundamentally, that's not really great to see that. Solana falling. And so, yes, price can be shooting up, but look at the total value locked. What is happening in terms of the general ecosystem? And besides the decentralization aspect, especially of something like Solana being very centralized, right? Very VC owned. Besides that, this is not an exciting data point for me, right? Go look at Cardano. What is happening with its own ecosystem? Its first DeFi bull run. We're on a whole nother level. We're on this level of Ethereum and before the last bull cycle when Ethereum DeFi was coming on. Ethereum on the last cycle had its first bull run cycle with DeFi online. This is what's happening with Cardano right now. Total value locked. The network is waking up, and we're not even in the bull market yet. This is what intrigues me. Put aside the fact from a price perspective, ADA does take a little bit of time sometimes. It gets a lot of hate for that. Put aside the fact that altcoins take turns, so there's really no surprise that there's certain altcoins that are outperforming, and I think it's good. I like to see that because it means that the cycles are being consistent, right? Put all that aside. It's the fundamentals. And then the other thing is this. Don't think for a second, this is Grayscale, their holdings for their non-Ethereum. This is their non-smart contract Ethereum, ex-Ethereum fund. Here's ADA number 2, obviously behind Solana. Don't think for a second that ADA is not going to get exposure from big money, because that in my view is setting up 100%. I really 100% think that big money wants their hands on Cardano. They see what's happening with Cardano. This is a top 10 crypto. And oftentimes, because of the narratives that float around from anti-Cardano people, oftentimes you would think it really is like not even a top 100, as much as people hate it so much. But it's consistently hung in there as a top 10 with some of the best fundamentals going into the next cycle. And I'm not even talking about the decentralization aspect. I'm not even talking about all of the other narratives that are bullish for Cardano. I mean, Midnight, I think, is going to be a really, really good, helpful narrative for Cardano going into this next cycle. And so Bitcoin halving still not till spring of 2024. Here's the setup that we have. It does not look ugly for me. It's just going to be the people out there that are like, I wanted these gains. I wanted these gains. And they're going to be mad they didn't get it with ADA just yet. It just is what it is. This is going to happen. This is what happens every cycle. But let's talk about where we are from a cycle perspective. As we've already noted, I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video. This move above these moving averages, the 20-week, the 50-week, this swing high here happening early this cycle around, right? Earlier than when it happened last cycle. You can see it happening this last cycle after this red box here, pre-halving. It's happening earlier this time around, right? So that's number one. I want to point that out. That is extremely bullish. And the bullish divergence that we had right here with that swing high that you see here on the RSI happening earlier as well. This is a great setup for ADA going into the next bull cycle. Let's dig into the shorter term technical analysis of it all. And I want to start with a video from October 21st, almost a month ago, a few weeks ago. Check this out. And a target to the upside out of this falling wedge is around 40 cents to the upside. So a few weeks ago, sub 30 cents, we've made our way to around 39, 40 cents. The thing about this is, and when I did that video, sometimes it depends how I'm measuring the targets. The target really is above 40 cents, and we haven't hit it yet. But what I have noticed is whether we hit it or not, as ADA's made this really nice move from a few weeks ago, breaking out of that trend line, what it's been doing, and this is something we've been talking about a lot, and this is really the new focus for me from the shorter to midterm perspective, is this entire swing high right now is what's intriguing to me. And I'll explain a couple reasons. The first main reason is because we're getting slight hints of bearish divergence, right? The momentum oscillators are starting to fall to the downside while price was rising to the upside. We've talked about that already in previous videos. But if we go look at something like AVAX was doing something similar, right? And it is right now, but it's still putting a leg higher. So on the very short term, I am really, I'm convinced that ADA can make a very similar move to the AVAX move that's happening right now, meaning we get the short-term consolidation. It didn't quite pull into the 20-day moving average over here on AVAX, but short-term consolidation and then another explosion to the upside with, and I got to point this out, with the bearish divergence. I think what's happening here in AVAX, could it keep going? Certainly. But with this bearish divergence on the daily, the overbought on the weekly RSI just touching in, with those things happening, it's good to use caution with something like AVAX. But that is to say, we could be getting set up for ADA to do something similar. And again, I'm not sitting here trying to offer any hopium. It might not happen. This might be it for ADA until its next leg up. We might start falling with ADA. But what I will note is we have this setup for ADA to make its way back into overbought on the daily and kind of mirror or reflect the move that AVAX just made. So we could get an explosive move for ADA through 40 cents. The setup is there, especially as altcoins are kind of shifting, taking turns. The setup is there. But if ADA doesn't do it quickly, and this is what I'll be watching in the shorter term, breaking this trend line, this is a new swing high. If it doesn't do it quickly, there is for sure this case that ADA is going to continue coming down. One thing I want to note is it did revisit and kind of test into the 20-day moving average, which is this first area of support we wanted to monitor for ADA. And you can just see it kind of wicked right above it and in that 34-cent range, and we bounced out of it, and we're kind of trending up right now. Will the trend continue for ADA? Will it break to the upside? That's what I'm going to be monitoring, because that upper trend line in white is a big deal for ADA. If we're looking at it, you can just see, and I've talked about this breakout target now to the 70-cent region out of this kind of more of a falling, broadening channel, right? It's a falling channel, but it's a little bit broadening. 70-cent target to the upside. If ADA can do its thing and just step out of nowhere and have this mini bull run of its own. But it might take longer. Remember, this move last cycle happened right around here, right? Months later. So this move is early that we're getting right now. There's downside potentially in play. Remember last cycle, ADA put its low in somewhere after this red box, right? It kept falling. You can just see this on the zoomed out daily. You see it falling out here and then making the move, and then COVID came into play. But we're early this time around. So if there's going to be consolidation, it is what it is, everybody. I don't want it to happen. I would love to see ADA just break up another leg higher, maybe even approach 50 cents at the very least before trending back down for another big dip, testing this trend line. That's the move I want to see, right? Boom. That's the move I want to see. But I have to consistently remind myself, fundamentally, everything is in play. Everything is in place for the next bull cycle. But that's just the thing. I think when we're getting these green candles, people forget we're not in the bull cycle yet. We're not even at the Bitcoin halving yet, right? So that parabolic, that excitement, the retail FOMO, the institution FOMO that might come this cycle around, I don't think it's going to be here till post Bitcoin halving, and maybe even well after that, right? So we're not in that part of the cycle yet. We're still prepping. So I'm reminding myself that consolidation to the downside makes sense. This exact move that ADA is in right now, that's what happened last cycle. Move to the upside, falls, pretty drastic because of COVID, but it was falling to test key moving averages. Are we going to get a similar setup right now? ADA falling, consolidating with the rest of crypto. I'm going to be monitoring that. But I just wanted to say, when I see other altcoins moving, of course, I'm kind of like, man, it would be nice if ADA gets its turn, or whatever altcoin you're watching and it's not moving, and you see Solana moving, AVAX moving, you might think, man, come on. But this is what cryptos do. Remind yourself, and this is all I'm doing for myself, reminding myself, what's the opportunity here with Cardano that I see? And is the technical analysis, is the story of it all on pace? And it very much is. And actually with Cardano, for me, it's a little bit ahead of the game in terms of what we were anticipating going into the next Bitcoin halving. It's a little bit ahead of the game. So continue monitoring crypto markets, obviously. Continue monitoring Cardano for a breakout, because a breakout right now, I should say this earlier, a breakout, if it happens above this area, if ADA keeps going, this would be something that's a first. This would be a historic move for ADA, because last time at this point, ADA started falling at least to test the 20-week moving average below 30 cents again. If it keeps going right now, and there's still 4 days, 3 hours of this weekly candle, but if it keeps going, that will be epic. And it starts here, and this is the daily chart. How will the daily candle close in 2.5 hours? How will the next daily candle open? Can we break this resistance, start going higher, start reflecting a Solana move, an AVAX move? I'll be watching, but either way, I'll tell you one thing. I'm macro bullish on Cardano, and it's because of the fundamentals. It's because of what's getting ready to happen in the ecosystem. Let me know your thoughts, everybody. I appreciate you cruising through. Hit the subscribe, turn the notifications on, because I say it a lot lately. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started in terms of the next bull cycle. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.